I get to my house?
This was like an 80-mile-an-hour blowtorch.
I came out and I saw a fireball.
Do you know what you're gonna do now?
My parents tried to get me out of here, but I couldn't leave.
I can't go, bro. 51 years, man, I've been in this house.
The city of Los Angeles, the film city of America, the home of Hollywood. Although this city has been shown countless times in Hollywood movies, sometimes there have been heavy earthquakes here, sometimes the fearful tsunami, sometimes there have been tornadoes, and sometimes aliens have attacked. This city has endured a lot in the movies, but now in reality the flames of fire have devastated Los Angeles. Such scenes have been witnessed, which are really heart-wrenching. See this video? A fire tornado. It was seen in the area of Palace Sadis. It is like this that this horrifying video came out, which was taken by a man who remained locked inside his house when the flames came near his house. In this video, you can see that his house was surrounded by flames from all sides. Thankful to the man who recorded this video, he was rescued on time by the firefighters. But not everyone was so lucky. So far, at least 26 people have died. This fire has spread over approximately 40,000 acres. It has been more than a week since this fire started burning. But even now, when I am recording a video, this fire is still burning. More than 12,000 buildings have been burnt. People's houses have been reduced to ashes. More than 180,000 people have been displaced. Evacuation notices have been given to about 2 lakh people. According to JP Morgan's estimates, all this will cause an economic loss of $50 billion in the city of Los Angeles. This is not just one fire. There are actually multiple fires in multiple locations on the morning of January 7th. In an area called Palisades, look at the map. That same night, Eaton and Hearst were also on fire by January 9th. Kenneth was also engulfed in flames, and its lava spread to many other areas. Lydia, Archer, Woodley, and Sunset were also on fire by the morning of January 12th. The Lydia fire had been completely contained. The Kenneth fire was 90% contained. The Hearst fire was 76% contained. But the Eaton fire was only 15% contained, and the Palisades fire was only 11% contained. The most shocking thing about this entire incident is this is happening in the month of January. January is winter season in Los Angeles, and it is the month when we usually receive the most rainfall. Compared to the whole year, the city still witnessed such devastating wildfires. How is this possible? There is a big conspiracy hidden behind this. Let's understand in today's video. If you look at this entire incident from a geographical perspective only, the reason given is that this year there was less rainfall in the Southern California area, due to which the humidity decreased and all the trees and plants, the vegetation had dried up. There was a lot of dryness in the air apart from this very powerful winds blew, powerful offshore winds which are called Santa Ana winds. These winds have made this fire weather even worse. If you look at the map of America's western coast, then there are Rocky Mountains. So on the other hand, in the areas right on the coast of California, there is low pressure due to the pressure difference the winds blow. When these winds come down from the mountains, they become hot and their humidity is 10%. And this hot, dry air then dries out the forest even more and increases the likelihood of wildfires. Even a small fire or a spark anywhere can turn into a huge fire that spreads quickly. But the real question here is that what is the reason behind all these conditions? Low rainfall, low humidity, dry vegetation, strong winds. There is a scientist named Peter Calamus. He works at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory. He used to live in the Altadena area of Los Angeles, but in the year 2022, he left this place because he realized that it is no longer right to live here. He also wrote an article in the New York Times in which he told the dark truth and exposed many perfect people. We will talk about it further in the video. But one thing that he understood very well was climate change. See this news article of January last year, the hottest year ever recorded on Earth, 2023. The European Union's COPPER, Niklas Climate Change Service, said that global temperatures in 2023 were the highest since 1850. And when compared with pre-industrial times, average temperatures are 1.48 degrees Celsius higher. The service's deputy director said that in 2023, climate records are falling like dominoes. This year's temperatures are probably higher than any period in about 1 million years. This might seem quite surprising to you, but it was no big surprise for climate scientists because they had already predicted this. Before 2023, the record holder was 2016. Then 2023 broke 2016's record. This was not some sudden weird event, but a trajectory of climate change by December. 2023, greenhouse gas levels were at a record high, global temperature was at a record high, sea level was at a record high, sea ice in Antarctica, record low in the same month. United States Annual Climate Report was also submitted, COP28. There was a lot of discussion about fossil fuels in this regard. To face this, India's 12-year-old climate activist Lisipriya Kangujam climbed on the stage in this event and said to stop fossil fuels. But Form 29 was submitted in November 2024. There was a promise of transition from fossil fuels. This was just a small step forward. Data showed that coal, oil, and gas emissions increased by 0.8% in 2024 instead of decreasing. What was the result of this? Have you seen this news article of this month that 2024 broke the record of 2023 as well? The year 2024 had become the hottest year till date. From June 2023 to August 2024, temperatures were high for 15 consecutive months. NASA science called it an unprecedented heat streak. The United Nations had talked about a global warming threshold in these summits that no matter what happens, we should not let the temperature go above 1.5 degrees Celsius in comparison to pre-industrial levels. If this happens, then catastrophic damage will be seen. But just a few days ago, Copernicus Climate Change Service said in its press release that this threshold has been crossed last year. The temperature will rise by 1.5 degrees Celsius as compared to pre-industrial levels. Celsius has become more cautious. You might be thinking that, why am I talking so much about climate change? Because according to experts, the role of climate change behind what happened in Los Angeles cannot be denied now. In 2024, in the state of California, the month of October was the second hottest ever month, while the months of June and July were the hottest ever months. What do you mean, June and July? The heat that fell in California in 2024 has never been so hot before. There was no rain after July in a large part of California. Everything dried up. Then after a few months, these Santa Ana winds started blowing, which dried up the forest even more. Now it is important to understand one thing here. It is not that these forest fires always happen due to humans. Wildfires occur naturally. In fact, there are some ecosystems, plants and animals that have evolved in such a way that they depend on periodic fires for ecological balance, such as conifer trees with a thick bark or prairie grasses that store most of their biomass underground. There are even some plants that are dependent on heat so that their seeds can germinate in the soil or their buds can become fruit. Occasional fires can clear out dead organic material when dead or decaying plants build up on the ground. Then the organisms present in the soil are unable to access the nutrients. Outgrowth of new small plants can be hindered by this. In such a case, the dead plants and animals get burnt in these fires. So, the burnt fire releases nutrients in the soil. If you want to know more about this, then You can ask Chat and you will get to know all the core concepts and applications in great detail, and not just in this field. So if we talk of the California region, wildfires are common there too. There are dry weather conditions during summers, along with winds, so normally fires can occur from May, June to October. The triggers behind these fires can be natural causes as well as man-made. Natural causes are, like lightning. If lightning has struck somewhere, this is the most common cause due to which wildfires start. Man-made causes could be a roadside ignition, a fire caused by a vehicle, some machinery hits a rock, causing a spark and a fire, or sometimes when there are strong winds, the power lines can sway, causing sparks. There can also be other direct man-made causes. People go camping and light their campfire, but they forget to extinguish it. America's National Park Service has reported that 85% of wildfires in their country are started due to some human trigger. An audit in the state of California in 2022 had said that a lot of improvements are needed in the electrical grids to reduce the risk of wildfires. The trigger behind the recent fire in Palisades is being said to be the firecrackers burnt during New Year. The exact cause is still under investigation, but firecrackers are being considered a big suspect here. But the problem here is that along with human triggers, we are also seeing direct disruption of climate change here. This is the reason that the natural wildfires that we have been seeing in the last decades are not part of any natural ecosystem. The time at which these fires broke out in the month of January, the intensity with which they broke out, and the amount of damage they caused. It is clear from this that the root cause of this is climate change here, and the situation is going to worsen in the times to come. A study published in 2021 in the journal PNAS found that days when wildfires are more likely to occur have increased in California from 66% to 90% over the past decade. The frequency of extreme wildfires that cover more than 10,000 acres has increased by 25% in California compared to pre-industrial times, according to a study published in the science journal Nature. If we look at data from the California Fire Department, what have been the most devastating wildfires? 8 out of the top 10 wildfires are from 2017 to 2024. They are from the last few years only. This means that not only are there human triggers in many situations, but overall less rainfall, drying of vegetation, and being more flammable are also human-caused influences of climate change in all these. The government may or may not have understood this, but for Peter Kalmes, a climate scientist whom I mentioned earlier in the video, this was a clear sign that the situation was getting worse. Peter has been living in Altadena, a Los Angeles village, since 2008. He says that at that time, this place was like heaven. He had a huge avocado tree in his backyard so he could make unlimited guacamole dips. Flocks of green parrots were chirping. Nearby California Tech in Pasadena had perfect green lawns. He would lie down there with his babies. But the earth was getting hotter. By 2012, it became hard to ignore, so he changed his field. He used to work in the field of gravitational waves. Now he moved to climate science. He took a job at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory. He wanted to scream with his chest. Everyone realized the urgent threat of climate change. He volunteered with local climate groups. He gave climate talks in various parts of the city while cycling. He wrote articles in newspapers and tweeted on Twitter. He was also the co-founder of a non-profit climate app and climate media group. But he could not do anything against the agenda of some billionaires. During an intense heat wave in September 2020, Peter experienced heat exhaustion for the first time. The next day, a massive fire started just a few miles away in their area. T was named the Bobcat Fire. He and his family spent the next weeks surrounded by a cloud of smoke. His lungs burned. He felt a constant tingling in his fingers. After that day, he began to fear that his neighborhood could one day be the victim of a devastating wildfire. That very day, he decided that I cannot live here anymore. We have to leave this place. In 2022, his wife got a job in North Carolina, and they shifted there. He says that I was expecting a fire, but I had never thought that this fire would be so dangerous. In the news, he saw that his dog's pet hospital burned down. The church where he used to take his sons for recitals burned down. The coffee shop where he used to meet his friends and climate activists burned down. The nearby hardware store, the Bunny Museum, was gone. His old neighbor messaged him and told him the house he used to live in burned down as well. Hearing this, Peter is moved to tears. Peter says the apocalypse has arrived, if not for everyone, at least for those who have lost something to climate disasters. No place is safe anymore. Hawaii could see deadly fires in 2023. The Pacific Northwest could see the heat of 2021. 2. Last year, Hurricane Helene did not hit Carolina. Looking outside the US, wildfires are happening in Australia. Oases are disappearing in Morocco. There are floods in Dubai. And summers in India are getting hotter and unbearable. Peter says that nothing will change unless we get angry. And you will get angry when you will know the truth, that who is getting harmed, and who is getting benefited in all this. Who has made all this happen? Have you seen this report of last year? All the greenhouse gas emissions that we have seen from 2016 till now have come from only 57 companies. Only 57 companies are responsible for climate change around the world. Who are these companies? These are the multi-billion-dollar oil, gas, and coal whale multinational companies: ExxonMobil, Shell, BP, Chevron, Total Energies of America. These are private companies, but some government companies are also included in this list. State-owned coal company of China, Saudi Arabia's Saudi Aramco, Russia's Gazprom, Iran's National Iranian Oil, India's Coal India, Mexico's Pemex. And the amazing thing is that all these private companies in America knew 50 years ago that because of them, irreversible climate change will be seen on the earth. Even after knowing this, the CEOs of these companies, their lobbies, their lawyers, spread disinformation, spread false information, so that the growth of renewable energy could be stopped. They used their own money to buy nets all over the world. I am not saying this, these are Peter's words. It may sound like a conspiracy theory, but we have solid evidence of this. Last year, climate investigator Rebecca John unearthed some old documents. Some of these documents were in the U.S. National Archives, some were at the University of California, and some were in Los Angeles newspapers from the 1950s. These documents reveal that the fossil fuel industry itself funded the Air Pollution Foundation. Charles Keeling, a famous climate scientist, funded his early research. Charles Keeling worked in a laboratory in Hawaii and set up a way to constantly measure global carbon dioxide. His Keeling curve shows how there is a progressive buildup of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. The city of Los Angeles would be covered in smoke at that time. The research effort on that was also funded by the fossil fuel industry, a coalition of the fossil fuel industry, oil and car manufacturers, also funded Charles Keeling's research. These documents show that research done at that time had already revealed that carbon dioxide emissions could have planetary implications. This is something that we read about in our school textbooks. Burning of fossil fuels causes emissions. Greenhouse gases like carbon dioxide trap heat. This causes global warming. The industry was aware of this danger in 1954 itself, but they still continued exploiting fossil fuels to make money. The managers of these companies already knew what danger they were leading the world into. I want to ask you, shouldn't these people be arrested and charged with genocide? A memo from 1959 shows that the leading oil and gas lobbying body in the U.S., the American Petroleum Institute, and the Western Oil and Gas Association were funding the Air Pollution Foundation at the time. As early as 1955, a policy statement of the Air Pollution Foundation said that air pollution is the most serious issue for urban areas in California or anywhere else. There is no evidence that Charles Keeling, for greed, suppressed his own research, but there is evidence that the industry publicly denied climate science to many viewers. They resorted to deception and trickery. What's more, they will provide funding to delay any action on the climate crisis. A clear but misleading model is seen here. An investigation in 2016 revealed that ExxonMobil and other companies had patented the technology for electric cars and low-emission vehicles as early as 1963. Patent records show that they were researching technology to reduce carbon dioxide emissions. That is, they knew CO2 emissions were a threat to the world, but at the same time they lobbied to prevent government funding for such research. For years, they said that climate change doesn't exist and that humans are not causing anything. It was only in 2008 that they stopped denying climate change. They finally acknowledged that human-caused climate change does exist. If this company had taken action 50 years ago, we wouldn't be in this situation today. In 2021, there was a historic hearing of the Committee on Oversight and Accountability, where fossil fuel executives admitted that the climate crisis was an urgent threat. But they refused to take responsibility for the rumors they spread to the audience. Peter Kalmes says in his article in The Guardian that if we want to avoid a climate crisis, we have to avoid the billionaire class. We already have the option of solar energy, but these billionaires are blocking this transition as well. He gives the example of the Mountain Valley Pipeline Project, a pipeline project in the US, which would not be the right thing to do from a climate change perspective. Activists even protested against it to get it shut down. But a company gave just $3 lakh to Democratic Senator Chuck Schumer, and the project was revived again. This model of bribery is spread in America in a very shameless and dangerous way. No matter how many trees we plant at personal level, no matter how much cleaning we do, but these people sitting at the top give a small donation, and the leaders there will pass such laws which will destroy our environment. Today's topic ends here. If you want to know more about climate change, please comment. I will definitely make a video on it.